Good morning. So I'm going to talk you through some really specific important things that are necessary for down dog, chaturanga, arm balances, and being placed or remaining on all fours for a period of time. All of these poses have a focal point in the area of the chest. So it's important of how we place our shoulder girdle, what we do with our hands as far as positioning on the yoga mat, and how we rotate through them, spiraling or expanding in order to create the most optimal stability possible. So in order to do this, there's a couple of things that we have to keep in mind. First of all, placement of the hands. Hands need to be spread and active. This is creating a muscular energy in the palm in and of itself, helping to expand the wrists and once again climbing that muscular energy up through the arm and into the focal point of the chest. So with the fingers spread and active, you can see how my palm has a little bit of a dip in it. That's that muscular energy. When I soften my hand and without spreading it, that dip is a lot less pronounced. No more muscular energy is involved in my hand. So beginning at the foundation is critical. Spread through the fingers of both hands. And there's a couple of places we could put those hands. Okay, there is an optimal and ideal. So you may find yourself thinking, well, my shoulder width distance apart is about there. You can see from the video that from the shoulder straight down to my wrist looks like a pretty much straight line. However, my hands down at the yoga mat are pretty narrow. I only have 6 to 8 inches in between them, and that limits my movement. If I can take those just a little bit wider so that the outer shoulder had a plumb line that came to the inner hand, then I would have a lot more movement. Okay? With that movement, that's great. We need to find the muscular energy. Beginning at the hands and climbing up the arms. Now, locking out the shoulders will stop that muscular energy from climbing the rest of the way up the arm. So make sure there remains a slight bend in both elbows. Okay? Then, looking at the hands once again, there needs to be a slight spiral action in the hand. Notice my elbow. When my hand spirals out, the elbow comes in. When my hand spirals in, my elbows go out. Now with the elbows going out, I have a posture like this. With my elbows coming in, I have a posture more optimal, more pleasant to look at. So with the hands rooted, okay, they're not going to move physically on the sticky mat. It's an energetic move. As we spin those thumbs forward, my elbows come in. Okay, so here we are in all fours position. Spinning those thumbs forward, notice my chest, how full and open and expansive it is. Now if I were to spin those out, notice how narrow and concave it becomes. And boy, that's going to be straining on the shoulder girdle because the muscles are not holding, they're being pulled. Okay, so let's take this into a chaturanga or a downward facing or a four-limbed yoga push-up. So we're going to remain on our knees for this version. Okay. When we come to our hands and knees, we don't want to be crunched like this so our spine is long. The knees need to be back enough that our back can be spacious and long and a slight natural curve in the low back. As those thumbs spin forward, my elbows come in. I want to lunge, keeping my hips up, not dropping them, and bending the elbows as you lower. Notice the right angle. Remain here. Press back up. Repeat this 4 to 5 times. Then, when you're ready, try it with the knees up off of the floor. Bending at the elbows. Pressing back up. Lifting to downward facing dog. Okay, and repeating that 4 or 5 times. Now looking at this same principle within our Adho Mukha Svanasana pose, downward facing dog, it looks a little bit like this. That's the unoptimal way to do it. That's the optimal way to do it. Hopefully you were able to see the movement in my upper back, where spiraling out with the hands created a hunching, a rounding, an overstretching, and less contraction of the muscles. Spinning the thumbs forward energetically created a plug-in to power. Watch it one more time. Spiraling out here. Now, instead of my pinkies spiraling forward, I'm going to suck those pinkies in and spiral the thumbs forward. Good. Now, when it comes to arm balances, and this is of course going to be helpful, every arm balance is any posture where all of the weight's on your hands, so that will include handstand itself. So coming first into Bakasana, or crow pose, feet remaining together is ideal. Hands in that positioning, maybe a slightly wider because we're going to be fully expanding and contracting the core in to hold this posture. Beginning muscular energy in both the hands and the feet. So this feet, you can see how my toes spread, and then I bring them back down to the mat. As you plant those hands, squeeze and grab that mat. Make sure that you have a nice lining of your joints, wrist to elbow, no locking, to shoulder, plugging that power into your back. Lift the heels, spread the knees wide, bring the knees to the top of the arm, clear up into the armpit if possible. Leaning forward with that muscular energy, engaging the core and creating flight. Okay, now when it comes to arm balances, whether it's handstand or floating on the arms, it's important that that muscular energy is just involved in the legs. And in fact, it's the leg muscular energy that's going to hold you bundled up into a ball and keep you from falling or collapsing to the floor. What actually creates this overall muscular energy in the legs is we want to hug them to the midline, and the best way to do that is actually your pinky toe. Practice the toes spreading, especially that pinky toe. It engages the muscles on the outer shin, which when muscles engage, they have a force, pushes into the midline, and brings the whole leg in. Of course, these muscles are pretty powerful on their own, and with the axis of this, we have full, complete axis of the muscular midline pull with both legs. Let's repeat that again. Bakasana. Planting the hands, bringing the elbows up to the upper arm, spreading. Now we're going to try and spread those toes as we lift. So much easier, so much more stable. You'll be able to hold it for a long period of time. Now that will still remain the same for side crow, and every other version. So that's our first segment.